If you with it, drop it.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Mantate Show. As I always say, my show is really about all things that I think about life, the way that I do life, the way that people around me do life, but also it's about style, it's about face, it's about hair, it's about all of those things that, define Mantate. So yeah, welcome to another week of being Mantate of my world. So if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe on my YouTube channel. Just look for the Mandate Show or just type Mandate Mloja, you will see it. You can also just go on Instagram. I have a dedicated podcast page called the Mandate Show, and then on the bio you'll find the link to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other podcasting platform that you use. So yeah, without wasting too much time, welcome to the new people. If you're watching my show for the first time, welcome. I hope you stay. I'd love for you to be a part of my community, but also I hope that whatever I share with you guys today is useful for you and you don't feel like this is a waste of your time. So I'm very excited today because I'm starting this series. I will not do the episodes consecutively. I'm just gonna choose when and I bring it to you guys. But I wanted to talk about something that I promised to talk about last year, which is a conversation about owning properties. And I want to take a moment right now to just say that I have earned the right to speak on this subject. I mean, it's big girl things. Okay, I'm so excited. You will see as I go along telling you guys about this, but I'm really just excited. One of the things I had as a goal was I want to have a property by 30. And I had owned land before. I bought land when I was still very young and living in Zim, so I do have that. But I've always had this thing that, I want to get a property in my name. But there you go, and here we are. I'm so excited. I'm just so happy. And I know that, my grandmother would have been proud of me. She unfortunately didn't get to see this, but at least she got to see me buying land in my own country, and she got to know that the girl is focused. Baby girl is here about generational wealth. That's like my vibe. So anyway, today I want to talk to you guys about part of the thinking behind it. So the whole thing about buying property, especially outside your own country, is very interesting, right? So what I'm going to do is I will share with you guys some of the things that I learned, where I got to know about information, and also kind of like the processes that were important for me, but also how it went for me when I did my own thing, right? But also kind of like why I chose, a property in this particular country. And because there's like a whole lot of things to talk about, I'm not gonna talk about all of it in one sitting. So today we can regard this as more like an introductory session, where we just do the basics of why did I want to buy a property outside my country, but also thinking about buying outside my country, like what are the fears that I had, what are some of the things that really gave me the confidence to go ahead and do it, but also in terms of like how did I search. So I'm just going to cover those two aspects, right? So it's about what was happening in my mind, what was going on, right? And also what did I do to kind of like figure out the right place for me, and also searching for the right thing. Because the other thing about me, y'all, is when it comes to like spaces that I live in, I am so particular. My friends know this. Like if I'm booking an Airbnb, if I'm choosing a hotel, if I'm choosing a place to live in, even if it's like for 2 nights, 3 nights, whatever I'm traveling for, I want to be in a place that I really like. Like I genuinely want to be in a place that I really like. And I feel like I've done, a couple of Airbnbs, and my friends are always like, girl, how do you search for these things? Yo, it's energy, it's dedication, it's it's knowing what I want and pushing hard to get it. So I've always been that person that's particular. So even when I was looking for a place to buy, I was so particular about everything. Some of the things I feel like other people wouldn't think you need to be particular about, and I'm just like, yeah, but me, God, now I'm thinking about everything. Like I be looking at the direction of the sun. I want to be looking at the size of the windows, where the sun is coming from, where the sun is setting. I'm thinking about, like the walls, like what are we working with, the floors, like there's so many things that, would irk me. And I'm like, I love the place, but I'll look at something and I'm like, I want to go in there and then I'm changing this because that's going to cost me money. So I wanted to look at things that would, one, minimize the kind of adjustments I needed to do in the house, because I didn't want to spend more than, buying the place, but also thinking about, I want to buy a place that already kind of shows me where my vision can start. I want to buy a place knowing that, okay, this is what it looks like. This is how I'm going to, make it look great. I want to buy a place and then having to think about like a vision. What can you turn it into? I feel like I'll do that with the land I have when I start building, because I'm like, yo, I don't want stress. Also, like, guys, I'm just entering the market, right? So I don't want too much stress. I'm like, I'm a newbie. I want ease. And I always say to you guys that 2026 is the year where I was like, God, whatever I have done in my life, may it bring ease into my journey, into my life. So that was kind of like the vibe. I was like so particular, and maybe that's why it took me longer, because I spent a long time searching for the right one. I did, yo. I did. And there's a whole lot of other things as well in terms of like, I feel like I'm jumping into it. Let me just, structure this, take a moment, breathe, so that I don't run ahead of myself. But first of all, I have to say, you really need to figure out which country you're buying the property in and why you're buying there. For me, it was easy. I knew that if I had a property in Zim, the next country I'd want a property in definitely would be South Africa. South Africa, because one, I love South Africa. I have spent a while in South Africa. I've spent a good amount of time in South Africa. Short visits, long visits. I've always really enjoyed South Africa. And in South Africa, there are two cities that are of interest to me, both in the sense of cities that I've enjoyed, but also thinking about cities that have a return for my investment, right? Because I'm also thinking about my properties as investment. I love growing money. So for me, anytime I'm putting my money somewhere, I'm like, I'm putting you there to grow. I'm not going to be investing in something that will not have a return. So for me, I was thinking about which city, makes me happy. If I'm in the country, I want to be like, enjoying my stay. So which city am I definitely flying into, or which city am I definitely, visiting, spending more time in if I imagine myself in South Africa? So this one was easy for me because South Africa is like one of my favorite places, right? So for you, as you think about where to buy, you also have to think about this. And it's not just about it as your favorite, because I feel like any country can be your favorite, right? But it's also about, is it also practical? Does it make sense? One, for a foreigner, does the country allow you to buy, even if you don't live there, even if you don't work there, right? And also think about how you're gonna buy. So if you're gonna buy cash, does it, is it better if you're gonna have to look for a loan from the bank? Does that country provide, foreigners that kind of loan? What are they looking for? Do you meet the requirements? So there are things that you need to think about beyond just, the country being your favorite. So for me, I thought about it, and I know that South Africa does have like options for people that have full-time jobs that have steady income to actually get loans. But I know that also you pay a higher deposit than, for instance, the locals, which makes sense in a way, right? So they give you a certain amount. You should just search for it. I'm not going to speak about that because I didn't go that direction. One of the things that I think was very important for me was remembering all the things that could potentially disqualify me in that direction, because one, there's certain things that they look for that maybe I did not have, but also for me it worked to kind of just go in the direction that I decided to go. It worked better for me, to be honest, than going through the bank. Because also one of the things I was thinking about, and I keep saying this as a newbie because, like, guys, some of the questions and thinking that I have maybe is like super like you're too young in this space, in the sense of you just arrived yesterday. But there are things that I thought about where I was like, okay, if the interest I'm gonna pay is gonna double my total, I'm like, nah, guys, I'd rather suffer for a little bit for my first, my first property, to just, get it over with and be done. When I buy my bigger property, the dope, the mansion, the what, I will definitely go to a bank because I'm not gonna pay cash for that. But thinking about it is very important because it also talks about, where you are financially. Have you managed to save enough? Or do you have a job? Do you feel like you're secure enough to just go in the loan direction if you're comfortable with the interest as well? But one of the things I've loved from people that have been talking about property, especially Zimbabweans that have been talking about, mortgages and how difficult it is for Zimbabweans, to get good finance to buy properties in the country. One of the things that people have been talking about is the value of using the bank method. If you have access to it, it's very important. There is no shame in getting a bank loan to buy a house. People are doing it. I think it's also a useful way of, using part of your money to, deposit, and then the bank covers everything. Then you can use the money that you have to, to do other things. It means that there's an opportunity for you to grow your money. So you're actually not going to get broke than someone, for instance, that pays it for cash, because it means that after the payment, I'll be like super broke and then I'm like back to my zeros type thing. So someone always emphasizes this whole idea of, if you have access and you qualify for a mortgage, go in that direction, right? and also think about other things as well beyond just, you know, it being practical. Also think about, does it work for you? Does it sit, you know, in, you know, kind of where you're trying to place yourself? Things like that. My point here is, y'all, you have to think about everything, and part of this is a lot of research. I probably wouldn't have known most of the things I knew going into this, but if I didn't go into the research that I did, I feel like I would have had a bit of a headache with my process. So I would encourage you to go, you know, research whatever stupid question you think you have. There is no question that's stupid when it comes to this, because you're putting in your money. I would say whatever question you have, no matter how small or how big, just go online and search. You can search, you know, different blog articles that have been written, there are news articles that have been written. You can check, you know, with estate agencies, companies. You can check with people that you know that have bought properties as well in that country. You can check in with, you know, different people. You can also go on TikTok, YouTube. There's so many people that are sharing their own experiences. You know, there are people on YouTube that have like a step-by-step guide for buying property in South Africa as a first-time buyer. There are people that have also covered for foreigners as well. So look for people like that. Look for also like me, because I'm sharing right now. So my YouTube channel is also a good place to learn about that. But the point is, just make sure that you learn as much as you can and take your time. Don't just be in a rush because you're going to get a property that you don't like. Also, like, it's just going to give you a headache. Just take your time, do the right research, speak to the right people, and then just, you know, go for it. One of the things I always say is don't overthink it. If you think too much, you will not do it. So don't think too much. Be like me. If I think about it and I put my house in order, I'm going to do it, because I don't want to be talking myself out of my, you know, foundation. So this is kind of like the energy that I had going into it. So number one, I've spoken about choosing the country and what you need to think about when you think about the country that you're choosing. So I chose a country that, one, was my favorite. Number two, made sense for me, right? Number three, the requirements, I met them. And also, it's a country I will definitely be in a lot. So like for me, it was like, yeah, I need a place that, one, is gonna give me money, but also a place that I'm gonna enjoy when I'm in this space. So that was important for me. And then the other thing that I had to think about, also some level of stability. One of the things I've loved about South Africa is the stability of the rand. I know that, you know, it changes little bit, but there's a certain level of stability that I do not necessarily have in my country. But also it's the idea of the rand value itself. As someone that's very global in nature, wherever I am, whatever money I'll be getting in there, I feel like there's so much more I can do with money that's growing in my bag in South Africa, because it means that I can show the bank like, okay, I'm getting this money, I want to use it to buy another property, or I can, you know, use that other property to buy a bigger property. The point is, I was thinking about generational wealth, and I was like, I want a place where it's easy to buy the next one, because I don't want to just have one property. I want to have more. So I was like, I want a place, one, that gives me the space to grow and understand how it works, but also a place where I can come back and use the same property in the same space to get something bigger and better. So that was kind of like the thinking I had. And so what I also want to say to you guys is, as I'm sharing with you guys, it's like my experience and what I was thinking. Don't use me as the template, because we're coming from different places. Our goals are different. The way we function is totally different as well. But also, yeah, we might be looking for different things in life, so don't feel like you need to do things the same way that I did. But just kind of just look at the logic of what I'm sharing, and then just use that to make your own decisions about, you know, the place you're trying to buy in and buy from type thing. Yeah, I feel like this is a topic I'm really enjoying. I'm very excited about telling you guys about this. I don't know why, but yeah, I guess also because I enjoyed listening to other people share their own experiences, and I thought it was very important for me to share, because someone like me that comes from the same place can actually be, you know, motivated to go for it, because I mean, it's not that hectic. Also, the other thing about South Africa was the property prices made sense for me. Y'all, in other places, I checked in my other favorite cities, but I was like, y'all, not right now. Not right now. There are some places where it was so expensive. Zimbabwe, for instance, is very expensive. My country is so expensive, especially for us that are new to this world of property ownership. Zimbabwe is really expensive. That's why, like, when I decided to buy something in my country, I was like, let me start with land. And I bought land in very strategic places, right? So I bought land in places that I could see, like, this is developing, this is going in this direction in terms of its growth. And also the other one is in one of my favorite towns as well. and it's a border town, and there's something happening there that's very interesting to me, so I bought it because of that. So my thing was like, I can afford to buy land, but I can't afford to build the kind of space I want for myself in Zim. And also I don't want to stress myself into building, then trying to get back the money and stuff. Like, I don't want stress. So I was like, okay, let me hold on to this while I figure my my coins out, and then get something that, one, I will enjoy and I will love, but also that will have a return on my investment over a period of time. So yeah, that's kind of like something also that I considered the price. South Africa, I would say, look at it. If you're looking for property in an African city, South Africa is definitely a place to check, because one, I feel like if you're coming from a country where you use the US dollar or use the pound or use like these other currencies that have more power, you can actually get something really great in South Africa. So I would say that was like my biggest consideration. Is it affordable? And why I'm also saying is it affordable is I love the fact that it's the kind of affordability that if you're very disciplined, you can actually save money to buy cash if you want to go in that direction. And I feel like for me, that was like a direction I wanted to take. So I was like, I just need the financial discipline and then go for it and then get my space, which is exactly what I did. And also the other thing that I liked was the fact that the procedure is very straightforward. And I hope that was everybody's experience, everyone else that's tried to buy in South Africa. For me, it was very straightforward from the point of wanting the property that I wanted, because I did a viewing of a lot of properties and I had a couple of options. There are some that I genuinely loved, but when I would engage them and then see the vibes, see the space, and I'm like, yeah, maybe not. Or, location wise. But also the other thing I had to think about is what I'm allowed to do in that space, right? Because there are certain, limits to what you can do with the property in certain areas. So you also want to think about that. You just don't go online, find a property, love it, and then decide to go with it. You need to ask questions like, I want to look at A, B, C, D. I want to look at A, B, C, D. I'll talk to you guys later in a different episode about the specific questions that I actually asked every time I did a viewing, or even in the final property that I decided to go with, kind of like the questions I was asking, the kind of documents I wanted to see, etc., etc. I will talk about that. So yeah, I thought about those kind of things, just the practicality of the cost, but also the processes itself, level of transparency, also reliability. Like I wanted stress-free process. That is what I'm saying. So that's why I decided to go with South Africa. But I'm also keen, if you're coming from a country where it's kind of like giving the same level of stability, affordability, and it's a job space, please let me know, because you never know. My next one could be there. I feel like in my mind, and I pray God blesses me, because like I really want this to go the way I'm thinking about it. I really want to invest in properties in different spaces that I occupy, in the spaces that I love, because I'm like, it's not just about places that we will stay in. I'm also thinking about generational wealth. I'm very big on financial independence for myself as a woman, for us as young people, and also for us as Africans. It's so nice to continue to find ways of growing, owning land, owning properties, and just growing, especially if you don't have a background in business and all of those kind of things. You're like also wanting to ensure that you invest the right way, because otherwise, if we don't have places where we're growing our money, we're just gonna spend money on the wrong things. We're just gonna spend money in the wrong things. And I'm saying this because I know if I don't buy the things I need to buy, we'll end up traveling, which is good, but also like I can't travel all the time and not have something very solid. That's why I'm big on investing in assets, but also investing in other ways. It's not just about buying property. There's also other ways of investing. We'll talk about that in a different video, because today is not the conversation. But those are some of the things that I thought about when I was thinking about where to buy the property. And then the other thing as well that I promised to talk about, because I say today I'm talking about the thinking I had, but also like the procedure in terms of like how I thought about it, how I searched for it, and then I'll end it there today. Then on a different episode, I'll go into like the next stage of when you're trying to view those places, what are the questions that you're asking, that kind of stuff. So in terms of searching, I looked at a lot of websites, okay? Like I really, guys, for me, guys, now I have time. I create the time. So when I say I searched, I mean to say I spent a lot of time searching. And there were different websites, but one of the websites that I really, really enjoyed was Property 24. I think, yeah, it's Property 24. If it's not Property 24, I'll just put it in the caption so that you have the right website. But there's this particular website that genuinely for me was the one, because I searched in all of these other websites, but I just came back to this one in terms of like the specifications I was giving. And I was like, you know what, let me just stick to this one. I would search in other places as well, but I kind of just felt comfortable with this one. So I ended up just going with that. And also the other thing about property websites is most of them are just posting the same thing, kinda. So I'm just like, I want like one place where I can just focus on this and use that. So I would say get your comfort zone. I would recommend this one because it really worked for me, and I think it's really big. So I will share it with you guys, and then you can use that as well if you're interested in that. What I like about it is that it's not just limited to South Africa. It covers a lot of other places, but I would say find one that covers a lot of the area so that you know you're not under stress if you're not finding enough. So I discovered different websites, and then I would search there a lot. But then on the side, I would actually be researching. I was on TikTok watching videos. I was on YouTube watching videos. I was reading blogs. I was reading newspaper articles. I would actually read about, you know, the city that I wanted to buy in, and I would read about, you know, the livable areas or areas that are safe or areas that are close to particular things I'm looking for. But I know the city very well, so I kind of knew already the kind of areas that I was comfortable with. But I was also trying to just, you know what people are saying and things like that. So I researched a lot, y'all. I wish I had saved all those, you know, websites I was reading. But I researched, I watched videos, I just listened to podcasts. I was just like doing a lot of things. And I know maybe you don't have to do so much, but for me, I'm that person. I want to know like everything. Like when I say informed decision, y'all, I mean, I checked, okay? So I checked a lot of the sites. And then what I would do is on a site, for the website, I would actually get on the website and I would search for like a specific, you know, size. If you're looking for a studio, you search for the studio. If you're looking for a 1-bedroom apartment, you search for that. So for me, I started off searching for 1-bedroom apartment because that's what I was looking for. I wanted a 1-bedroom apartment, but I was also searching for studios. Studios in the sense of particular locations that I know are expensive. I would search for a studio because I'm like, I want to see if, you know, I can get it in that location. I could compromise on the size as long as the location is perfect. But ultimately, I was looking for a 1-bedroom apartment, and that's what I ended up going with, right? So I would get in there, look for like a 1-bedroom apartment, and then I would specify the location. So in the website, it actually, you choose the city, right? And then under the city, they list all of these different suburbs in the city. And I know the city well, so I knew where I was looking. So I would specify the specific suburbs where I was looking for a property. And then after identifying that, I would then, you know, do some filters, you know, put the maximum price I was willing to pay. And then also put like, do you want a garden? Do you want parking? Do you want this kind of things? Yeah. And then you also specify if you want a house, you want an apartment, you want like a cluster, whatever. You know, you just specify whatever it is that you want. So I would actually do that. And then I would save as well so that I don't have to come back to the same kind of filter system. So I'll then save, and then I'll go into each suburb that I was interested in, and I'll see what's there, right? And then in seeing what's there are also specific things I was looking for, like I was telling you guys. Unfortunately, in the search thingy, in the filters, you kind of can't specify. So then I had to go through all those listings to see if I liked something, if the vibe was correct. Vibe for me meant one, location. Number two, the outside area. I was like, I want to know what it's looking like, right? So the outside was very important for me. So the outside area, the location. Also, the other thing was that was very important for me was stairs. I was like, I don't want to be in a building where I need to go up the stairs. I know the struggle of carrying suitcases up the stairs. I'm not about to do that life, and I'm not about to have people do that life in my space. So I was like, I'm not looking for those kind of places. So I would actually look at those kind of specific things. And also the other thing is trees and greenery as well. I'm like, guys, first of all, I really want to see green somewhere. I want to see flowers. I want to see, you know, trees, because I really feel like this whole life of having no trees is not my life. And also, like, I'm not such a powerful plant parent, so I know I'm not about to start it from zero. At least if it's there and there's, you know, a garden or somewhere, I'm like, I might just, you know, make it work. So that was, you know, something I thought about. So those are things you think about. Think about what you're looking for, what you like, and then think based, you know, evaluate things based on that. That's what I did. And then I'd evaluate, and then I'd see, and then I'll put on favorite the ones that I like, and then I'll just save them somewhere. And then the other thing I would do as well is try to see when the property was listed, because one, it has pros, it has cons. Pros in the sense of, I mean, if it's been there for longer, you might be able to negotiate better. But also, like, why has it been there for a long time, so you kind of ask yourself questions. So it's like you need to know as well, because it kind of helps as well in terms of thinking about, you know, your negotiating power, but also like, why is it still there? If it's that good, why is nobody buying it? So those kind of questions, right? So that's something that I thought about as well. And then what I would do as well is, once I have like the properties of that day or that week, when I was at the stage of viewing, I would actually then reach out to the estate agent and be like, I love this property, I want to ask you a couple of questions about it. And then I'll ask a couple of questions about it before, you know, thinking about, you know, viewing and all these other things. So in terms of like viewing, I'll talk about it later, in terms of like, how do you do it when you're not in the country in person to do it? How do you plan to do it virtually if you comfortable with that, but also like get somebody to go see if you can. So yeah, I'll talk about that later, but that's what I would, you know, think about, and that's the kind of approach I would do. Send them a WhatsApp, send them an email, because all their contact details are normally there, and ask my questions. If you know the answer is not to a question that's important for me, I'll just leave that property outright. So I think that's kind of like where I was at. Website, filters, and then just going through. And then in terms of the photos, y'all, like, it's very important as well. Like, look at the photos, right? People do these nice angles, you know, then you view it, you're like, it's not giving what it was giving. So you want to check that as well. Check the photos, and then if they're not giving, ask for videos, ask for like, can I get a better photo of this? Can I, you know, before you even view it? Because I'm also like, maybe we don't need to view for me to know that I want to proceed and view it, you know. By that I mean to say, there are certain places where you like, don't waste your time viewing it, because you're definitely not going to like it. So you need to be able to say, can I see a picture of this? Can I see a video of this before you actually do the viewing, so that you don't waste each other's time. So that's what I would do. And also like one of the other things that I thought about was, number one, price, the minimum price I was willing to pay and the maximum minimum, because also I was looking for a particular range of properties. So I was like, okay, I know I want to be affordable, but I'm also like, don't want to pay the lowest, because then I'll get a weird place that doesn't match what I'm looking for. So I would have like a specific range that I was comfortable with. With the property that I ended up going with, it was at a particular price. I'll tell you all about it at the stage, but it was at a particular price, and then I negotiated, you know, and I got like a really good, you know, price from it. So that's basically what I did. So yeah, I think this kind of like covers the basics of this first episode in the series that I'm covering, about how you think about buying property outside your own country, how to think about it, how to go for it. So now that I've told you guys how to think about it and where to go to search, the next time I come here, I'll talk to you guys about it at the level of, once I started reaching out, doing the viewings, and some of the questions I was asking, and some of my experiences, you know, some of the reasons why I didn't take particular ones and ended up with the one that I took. And then in a later episode, I guess the third one or the fourth one, I'll probably just do three. The last one, I will talk about the process itself, from the point where I made the offer and then I got feedback on it, to the point where it was accepted, and then I started the process, like what exactly happened, how was that? But I can say, that South Africa genuinely has my heart in terms of the procedure. It was so stress-free for me. And also, even though I was far for like most of the process, the embassy was so helpful, because I did some of the things at the embassy. I'm just like, it was such a beautiful experience, and I feel like it makes me feel like I want to do this whole thing again. So yeah, I'm very excited about sharing that part of the journey with you guys. But yeah, I know like I've spoken about what I promised to speak about, but I really want to add this part, which is unrelated to the process of buying the property itself. One of the things I would say, actually a couple of things. The first one I would say is, if you have a seed planted in you as you listen to this that says, I also want to buy my own thing, I would say this is the best time to start thinking about the money and start saving for that property. Because guys, I feel like when you've got money and you're making money, and then like at the end of the year, you're like, where did that money go? Part of it comes from the fact that you don't have a particular thing that you're building towards financially, that you're committing yourself to. So I feel like if you've got something that you've set aside and said, I'm trying to raise this amount of money by this time of the year, or in 2 years or whatever, it means that you might have more discipline in how you use your money, and you'll be able to see where the money went. I'm a minister of enjoyment, guys. I really believe in enjoyment. Like, enjoy your money because you work so hard. But I'm also like, in enjoying my money, I want money that lasts. So money that allows me to continue living in growth. And I want to be able at some point in my life to live in softness, like not have to think too much about the money, where you can just swipe and you're not checking the bank account. Part of that comes from starting early to think about saving for things like this. So I'd say, first of all, if you're excited about it today, start thinking about how am I going to get this money. For me, to be honest, I knew like there's certain things that give me stable money every month, but I was also like, what is my hustle game looking like for the time that I'm gonna be using to actually save for this particular project. So I really was strict on myself. I was like, I'm gonna do this much. And when I say do this much, you'll know me, like I work. When I put my hat on that, like I'm just gonna work, okay? So I told myself, okay, this is the kind of side hustling I need to do in order to boost the steady income that I have. So that's what I did. So I think you need to sit down with yourself and say, where's the money coming from? How much do I have? How much can I have within this period? If I'm looking for a property of this amount, that means I've got 3 to 5 years to serve, or 10 years, whichever is the timeline that works for you. But I think just have the discipline to say, I have this goal and this is what I'm going to start committing right away. Part of that is discipline, part of that is actual money being put aside for it, without obviously compromising on taking care of yourself and making sure that you're happy. Because I love to travel, I love to enjoy things, so I'm like, I don't want to deny myself the joy of experiences just because I'm dedicating myself to this. So find a way of balancing. If the current money doesn't cover all of that, hustle on the side for the things that are fun to do while you're dedicating the important money for something that you want to do. That's the first thing, thinking about it and starting to build the kind of environment that allows you to serve for it. That's the first thing. And then the second thing I wanted to share had to do with like just the concept of independence and how important it is for us as women and as young people. As women, because when I always think that money allows you to have authority over your own decisions, but also authority over your own life, in the sense of you are not held hostage when you're relied on systems that are not you. If you're the main system, if you're the main departure for your resources, it means that you're able to make informed decisions about the spaces that you're willing to be in and the places that you're not willing to be in. You're also able to live the life you want. You can travel, you can learn new things, you can afford to pay for courses, you can afford to buy things like a gadget that you need to learn a new skill, to try out something new. My point is, when you have the resources, I feel like you have so much more freedom than when you don't have the resources. And I think it's so important, it's very important for girls and women to find ways in which we build our financial resource. And it doesn't happen overnight, especially if you're coming from places where you didn't have like I didn't have like a trust fund that I knew like when I turn 18 I'm gonna get this money. If you're coming from very minimum resources, or you're coming from places where there were no savings, there was no insurance, there was no this, so everything falls on you. So technically you have the responsibility to build from zero. And that's why I'm like, it's very important for you to have that kind of commitment to financial freedom, because it gives you a voice. It allows you to get into spaces that you wouldn't get into if you didn't have the resources. And part of it, generally speaking, is, and I know like sometimes it's difficult because you're also existing in countries that sometimes make it so hard. Like, yo guys, it'd be hard sometimes. And it's not just in our countries. I've seen that in other places as well, where the economy is amazing, there's so much money, people have money, but there's a majority of people that don't have money. It's not like they don't work hard, they actually do. So I think it's very important for us to commit ourselves to ensuring that we have the right mindset for money and invest in it. And it's not just women, it's also young people. We need to invest, and part of it is conversations. Let's talk about money, let's share ideas, and let's do things together. Anyway, I could go on, but this is the topic for this week. It's about how you think about buying property, how you go about looking for the right property, and yeah, how do we build financial freedom. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Remember to subscribe so that you don't miss the future episodes for this series. But yeah, look for me on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, and all these other places. If you haven't looked for me already, subscribe so that you don't miss updates. But also because we bring the style, we bring the vibes, we bring just the good things in life, so you don't want to miss that. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me today. Take care. Bye.